Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. And God doesn't call the mighty and the ones that are good speakers and the ones that are wealthy. No, he called us. The prophets of old were moved by God's Spirit. Okay, coming up of the Holy Spirit. Okay, that's the title. That's today, right? That's why you're here. Well, let's start in the beginning. Let's go to Genesis 3:3, please. Genesis 3:3. But the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, You shall not eat it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall see, you shall be as gods, small g, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And their eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. Now, what a situation. Two people, I'm sure God explained, you're a man, you're a woman. Okay, you're in the garden. Have fun. Eat whatever you want. But stay away from the tree. Simple. Simple. They couldn't do it. Temptation. Human nature. There it is. Human nature. They just couldn't stand it. She got her husband in there, and he followed along. Okay, let's go to Genesis 4:5. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why are you wroth, and why is your countenance fallen? If you do well, you shall be accepted. And if you do not well, sin lies at the door. In other words, they had instructions. Okay? And unto you shall be his desire, and they shall rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel your brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? So he got a little snippy. And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. And now are you cursed from the earth, which has opened up her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto you her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall you be in the earth. So there we have the first murder. And when we moved here, boy, it's been 27 years ago, about, and we had one murder in Grand Junction a year. And last I heard it was 3. And I bet it's more now. So we're having more people coming in, and the world is changing. So let's look some more here in the beginning. Genesis 6:1. Genesis 6:1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. So they just got married and probably had multiple wives and having a good old time. In 6:3, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man. Now, I underline this in red because we're going to come back to that thought. My spirit, then the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. Up to that time, we had people living hundreds of years, but it was cut down, and it's down again through our own doing. But 6:4, there were giants on the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, that they bare children to them, and the same became mighty men, which were of old, men and of renown. And God saw the wickedness of man was great on earth, and every imagination and thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So they grew, but the wrong way. Whatever they wanted to do, it was evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on earth, and it grieved him in his heart. That's a bad situation. And you know the story. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing and the fowls of the air. For it repents me. He was sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. One family, one guy, of how many? Thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Maybe millions? They were up to no good. And it was just, there again, there was no following the laws of God. And what else? There was no of his spirit to be had at that time that I could find in the Bible. So God started over with Noah and the flood. And now let's go to Genesis 11:1. The fourth problem. And the whole earth was of one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Seir, and they dwelt there. So all the people gathered there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick or for stone, so they were probably rectangular, just what we have, and they could build. and slime they had for mortar. And they said, Go, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men have built. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. So they were growing, not in grace and knowledge, but just in knowledge. And it's not mentioned anywhere of what they were up to, but to build this building. Let us go down, and there confine their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad, and hence upon the face of all the earth. And they left off to build a city. So they were scattered. Therefore it is named Babel, because the Lord did there confine the language of the earth. And hence did the Lord scatter them abroad from the face of the earth. Now, from the tree and Adam and Eve in the garden to the Babel, it was the garden was 404 years before Christ, B.C. 4004. And to the Tower of Babel was the date was 2247. 2247. So that's 1,757 years of man fighting with God. And it was one disaster after another. And today there's 7,000 languages spoken and signed, and up to 8,324. But my point is, and I took you through all this, and you know the story, but let's read again, Genesis 6:3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet the days shall be 120 years. So time passed, all that time, and it was just one disaster had to be corrected by God, putting up with man. And we're the same way. That's why I went through that. Not to be disrespectful to you, but you're human. I'm human. And you know, you are you, and you have your faults. And God doesn't call the mighty and the ones that are good speakers and the ones that are wealthy. No, he called us. And that's what he likes to work with. But as I read to you, we tend to go off course, and I'm being kind there. We tend to go off course. But time passed, and God looked down, and he saw a man, Abraham, and he passed the test of time. He was tried and tried and tried. Now let's look at that. Genesis 12:1. Now the Lord had said to Abram, Get you out of the country and from thy kindred and from my father's house unto the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. I wonder what he's talking about. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse them that curse you. And in thee, in you, he's saying, in you and your seed shall all families of the earth be blessed. And how much money do we pour into other countries? We're doing it right now. This church, you guys that give us money, and I don't get paid. I don't want money. What I want is your ear. And I'm trying to motivate you, not to get your money, but to get your prayers and for you to act like you should, not like those people of old. It's one disaster after another. So Abram departed, it's 12:4, as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 70 and 5 years old when they departed out of Haran. In Genesis, let's go to Genesis 22 and 17. That in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars. God's talking to Abraham. And as the sand which is upon the sea shore, shall thy seed be possess the gates of your enemies. And in thy seed, from him, shall all nations of the earth be blessed. And you can just see it with the certain nations. And I really appreciate God being here. You notice the songs, I picked out a couple of them because I really, really appreciate being an American. It's just wonderful because I've seen the other side. Because now here's what God says. And 12:18, and in thy seed shall all nations of the earth be blessed. Why? Because you have obeyed my voice. Abraham, did what he was supposed to do. And I have a hard time doing what I supposed to do. It gets harder and harder. And again, this is why I took you through this history. It took 15 or 20 minutes because that's who we are. We're a little dinky church, and I can see some of you can't stay awake. Remind me of a really good friend. He used to snore when I would speak. And we had him out afterward, and I won't say his name, but, hey, did you have a good sleep? He said, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did. You know, he was elderly, and he was a neat man. Because that's who we are. You got to fight. It's just like the president said. He was shot and missed, and it hit his ear, and what did he do? He stood up, and he looked at the camera, and he said, fight! Stop sleeping. We're old, and we don't have much longer. But we have children. My children don't come to church, but I called up one last night and I said, we have an alarm beeping, and I can't get up on the ladder. He said, don't get up on the ladder. I'll come right over. And then he drove over and he got up, replaced the battery and did this. And he said, you okay, Dad? Yeah. You okay, Mom? See, he's not here, but he's still a good kid to me. Now, when God gave us his Spirit, and it changed the world. It changed the world by his Spirit. You saw what it was before. 1,757 years of mess. Well, let's go to Matthew 3 and 13. Matthew 3 and 13. Then comes Jesus from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized of him. But John forbid him, saying, I have need to be baptized of you, and you come to me? And Jesus answered and said to him, Suffer it to be now, for thus it becomes us to fulfill righteousness. What a guy. John the Baptist. Be told by Christ, it's us now. We're going to fulfill the righteousness that you are going to do. So here, I'm saying he was going to do. And then he suffered him. In other words, he baptized him. And Jesus then, when he was baptized, went up straight out of the water, and lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove, lighting upon him. And lo, the voice from heaven saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Now, Matthew, let's go to Mark, read the same thing, but a little different take. And Mark 1 and 9. And it came to pass in those days that Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized of John in the Jordan. And straightway coming out of the water, he saw the heavens open and the Spirit like a dove descending upon him. And there came a voice from heaven saying, Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Now let's go to Luke and see the final. In Matthew, it was longer and it's shorter. And Luke even writes a shorter. It's Luke 3 and 21. Now when all the people were baptized, it came to pass that Jesus, also being baptized and praying, the heaven was opened, and the Holy Spirit descended in the bodily shape of a dove upon him. And the voice came from heaven, which said, Thou art my Son, in thee I am well pleased. But all three, he was baptized with water, and we've done that right here. And but every one of them says he was well pleased with Jesus Christ. Let's go to John 3:33. John 3:33. He that has received his testimony has set to his seal that God is true. John 3:34. For he whom God hath sent speaks these words of God. For God gives not the Spirit by measure unto him. And that's where I want you to notice, for God give not the Spirit unto measure unto him. In other words, God didn't measure out and say, oh, you can have a little bit of Spirit, you can have a little bit more tomorrow. No, he just let him have it. All the Spirit and the ability to think clearly and to perform miracles and to perceive the people that were around him, the good people and the evil people. And that's why you need to ask God for his Spirit. The Father loved the Son, 35, and hath given all things into his hand. He that believe on the Son have everlasting life, and he that believe not the Son shall not see life. See, but the wrath of God abide in him. So we have to do these things. You can't sleep or not do it. You got to do it. There's no choice. If you succeed, I'm better than I succeed. If a bunch of you fail, I don't want to be responsible. Acts 1 and 4. And being assembled together with them, commanded that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father, which say he, you have heard of me. For John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit in not many days hence. And that's what we're here for today. Celebrate that. Let's go to Acts 2 and 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, and they were all with one accord in one place, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. So, of that 7,000 different languages, the people could understand what they were saying. They traveled from there. They were there. They went outside, and people could understand them. So it's a miracle right there. And you knew that. But I'm here to remind you. Let's go to John 16:13. Howbeit, when the Spirit of truth is come, he will guide you unto all truth. That's why we need it, to have this guide, this thing to remind you. And I was talking to Anita about a week ago, and I said, all of a sudden when I'm talking to you, it came together. And she said, well, people pray for you. And I, it works. I'm lousy at putting things together. John 16:13. Howbeit, when the Spirit is come, he will guide you into truth, and he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that he shall speak, and he will show you things to come. And that's Christ speaking. That's in the red letters. It's a spirit of truth, and it will guide you. It helps you. Boy, I need help. You get old and you get forgetful. Now, there's many, many scriptures about God's Spirit, but I chose 3. And let's go through them. Okay? Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And Genesis 1:2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And what happened? And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. It's His Spirit. He made all this. And I want you to enjoy the day, to grasp it and what it means, and take hold of it. And don't go off somewhere else with your mind. 2 Peter 1:21. 2 Peter 1:21. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man. But holy men, and it's talking about the writers of the Bible, this is what he's talking about. But holy men of God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. The prophets of old were moved by the God's Spirit. That's 2 Peter 1:21. Okay? So all this is recorded for us, for you. There's no excuse. And Job, I like Job. He was in a heap of trouble. Job 33:4. Job 33:4. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty has given me life. And I'm getting older, but I enjoyed life. I enjoy my grandchildren. I enjoy coming here and meeting you and seeing you here. This is an opportunity, folks. You're not getting younger. You're not going to have many more chances.